Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so what you just saw there was me going and camping out to get this beauty right here. Now this is the new Ryzen 5000 series. We're gonna get to it, what it actually is and why I picked it, etc. in a bit. But that wasn't the only camping. I actually camped it twice at Micro Center this winter. First time was actually a lot easier because it wasn't as cold. And I got this RTX 3080. Now, why did I get both of these? Well, as you are aware probably, I am building a new computer. And these are the parts to make it happen. So, let's get to building, shall we? Okay guys, so the objective of this video isn't just to show off my parts and build a computer, it's actually a lot more than that. It's to explain to you guys why I picked each of what I picked, what you should pick if you're considering building your own computer, what are the pros, the cons, the features, what you should look out for, etc. Now, I'm not going to review directly any of these parts, nor am I going to be making a build guide. I will not be guiding you through the process of how to actually build your computer. There's a link, there's actually two links down below, top of the description. One is going to be a build guide, and the other one is a guide by Jay's 2 cents that I found really useful that is entitled What to Do After You've Built Your Computer. So make sure you go check those out if you want to build your own computer. And let's get started with looking at what we have over here. So I think the obvious start is the CPU. Now this right here is a Ryzen 9 5900X. This is the second to the top of the line Ryzen CPU. It's actually right here. I'm not sure the camera can get that, but I think the reason why I picked the Ryzen 5, I think picking the Ryzen 5000 series right now is a no-brainer. As of recording this video on the 7th of November 2020, Intel Rocket Lake has not launched, and as such, currently, the Ryzen 5000 series, every single one of those processors beats the entire Intel competition in gaming performance and in workstation performance or multi-threaded applications. So it's a bit of a no-brainer to go after one of these. Of course, there's this shortage of CPUs right now. There's a shortage of just about everything you want in electronics, but if you can get your hands on one of these, this is an incredible deal. Now, that does mean the Intel Comet Lake, I think that's what the current generation, the 10th gen. That doesn't mean the 10th gen isn't a good set of CPUs. They are, just these have more performance. And the reason why I picked the 5900X is actually very specific. You see, I wanted to get the 5950, which is the top of the line for Ryzen. However, and sadly, Micro Center did not get 5950Xs. And not only that, but I wasn't able to find any online all night, all through 9 AM. And by that point, I just quit because if I was to find anywhere that even sold them, they would have already been sold out. Most places just had unavailable. They didn't even sell it at some point. So I don't know what happened. I haven't seen a single person outside of like partnered reviewers to get a 5950X. So maybe the launch was iffy, but maybe it was just me and I had bad luck. Either way, this is not a bad CPU. This CPU, as I said, beats all of its Intel competition in both multi-threaded performance and gaming. And it beats every single AMD CPU besides the 5950X in gaming. It also beats every single AMD CPU in multi-threaded performance, with the exception of the 5950X, and the 3950X, which is last gen's top CPU. And even with that one, it's pretty on par. Like if you look at gaming, it beats it. But if you look at multi-threaded performance, sometimes it beats it, sometimes it drops, but the two are really on par. So it's always by a point or two. So it's still a great CPU, and it was a no-brainer for me. This actually leads me to a very important topic. When you build your computer, you need to know what you're going to use it for. In my case, I need a gaming computer because I game a lot, but I also need a workstation because I stream, I record, I work with heavy loads of calculations sometimes. And not only that, but I build a computer about every 8 years. My old desktop back at home is like nearing 8 years old at this point. So I really need my components to last me a long time. And not only that, but I obviously want good performance throughout those 8 years. My current computer back home has an i7 7th or 8th gen. I don't even remember which one. It might even be lower than that now that I think about it. But regardless, and it was before the i9 release even. And not only that, but it has a 980, GTX 980. And to this day, it still outperforms most of my friends' computers in just about everything I put it towards. So this computer that's going to be built today has the same purpose. Now, you might just want to build a computer for 2 years or 3 years, and you still might want best top-of-the-line things. And that's fine. If you do, go get them. I like top-of-the-line things too. But if you're looking for a computer for specific things, you definitely don't need this big of a compute power, especially if you're okay with like upgrading it within 2 years or something like that. So, you know, keep that in mind as you're picking your parts. But that's the CPU, you know? Let's go for the graphics. Now, this is a true beauty. This right here is the RTX, the Asus TUF Gaming RTX 3080. Non-OC, by the way, because at release they didn't have overclockable RTXs, so, you know, that's fine. Now, I actually got really lucky because I didn't get to pick which brand of RTX I wanted. I was last in line to get one, and they only had the TUF Gaming ones. And the TUF Gaming ones actually have more of a specific transistor core, or whatever it is, on the back to like unload static electricity. And as such, they're outperforming most other cards, and they haven't been failing where other cards have been failing. So definitely try to get your hands on an Asus TUF one if you can. If not, doesn't really matter. The performance has been fixed by now, but still really good. Now, the RTX series. Why did I go for 3000 series? First of all, top of the line NVIDIA. Secondly, at this point in time, if you can get your hands on one of these, because it's very hard to, but if you can, it's sort of a no-brainer because, like, these cards, this card right here has double the performance of the RTX 2080 Ti. And the RTX 2080 Ti, prior to the 3000 series launch, was marketing for $1,600. This was $700, give or take a bit. So, you know, it's a bit of a no-brainer. And if you don't want to spend this much money, there's a $400 one, the RTX 3070, which is matching the 2080 Ti, which is still being commercialized for like $1,600 and is worth like $400. So this was without a doubt a good choice. It uses NVIDIA's new Ampere technology, which has been boosting performance to hell. It is the first generation of RTX cards that actually makes RTX gaming possible. Like reviews, I'm gonna knock this down, let me lower it. Reviews on these cards really have shown that RTX is now possible, and not only that, 4K gaming is now possible with this card. And if you can get your hands on the RTX 3090, which I should say, this is the top of the line, the 3090 is just a beast on its own. But if you can get your hands on it and you want to pay $1,200 for it, or more if you're buying it off of eBay, it can play 8K video games at 60 FPS, which is insane. But I don't need that. I'm fine with the 3080. This is still top of the line for me, and it's top of the line according to NVIDIA as well. So what next? Well, next we have our motherboard. Now, for the motherboard, there are only two motherboard types that are actually compatible with Ryzen 5000 series. The X570's AM4 socket, always, and the B550 still AM4 socket. And the reason I went for the X570 is actually really simple. The B550 still needs BIOS updates, and the BIOS updates are only going to come out next year. So you're going to wait a while if you want to actually use a 5000 series CPU on it. I didn't, so I went for an X570. So besides it being an X570, the rest, why did I pick the Gigabyte Aorus Pro Wi-Fi? Well, that's a great question. There's a couple things that I really like about this motherboard. First of all, the connectivity, and we're actually going to see this when I unbox it. It has a bunch of USB ports. It has, gigabit Ethernet, and it also has Wi-Fi. That was my main reason. This is the Gigabyte is a great brand, trustful, and makes really high quality products. The only thing that I'm really sad about is it only has 4 RAM slots, but I searched and searched and searched. There isn't a single AM4 socket motherboard that is X570 that does have 8 RAM slots. It just fell out of use for some reason, which is weird because my old one has 8 RAM slots, and I think it's still like a very decent thing because you can have a bunch of RAM with it. But anyway, okay, so with the main components out of the way, I'm sort of going to speed through the rest. Samsung's 970 EVO M.2 SSD. This is a 1TB NVMe SSD. Top of the line performance. It's not Gen 4, it's not the Pro, but the Pro module markets for like almost 300 bucks. This market's for 150, so I don't really need the gain speed. I really just wanted an NVMe SSD because I would like to have my games and core systems on an SSD. So since 1TB of storage is actually not enough for me, I got a Seagate Barracuda Compute 2TB HDD drive. This is gonna be my internal storage for like really big games that I don't play often. Probably the only game I'm actually gonna have installed on the SSD is Minecraft. But regardless, this has a lot of storage. It also lets me store the video files, which are pretty big, etc. So top of the line, definitely a good performance hard drive. Then for RAM, I have two kits of 16 gigabytes. So this is 8 times 4, which is gonna be 32 gigs of DDR4, 3600 megahertz RAM from Corsair. Corsair Vengeance LPX. This is a CL18 RAM. Now, apparently the sweet spot for RAM for the Ryzen 5000 series is 4000 megahertz, but there's also been rumors that the chipset just isn't ready yet. So I don't regret buying this. This is still very good RAM, but if you are buying this in the future, look for 4000 megahertz RAM. It will boost your performance a bit, so good on that. Then for the power supply, I actually went a bit overboard just because I wanted to, and then it ended up that it actually works. This right here is an EVGA Supernova 1000 Gold Plus. This is a 1000 watt, 85% Gold Plus power supply. It's a great power supply. So the reason I went for 1000 watts is that the CPU only gets like 100 watts, give or take 105, but the GPU has been power hungry. Like, all benchmarks have showed that the RTX series has been super power hungry, and it's led to even 850 watt power supplies black screening the computer just because it's sucking so much power. So if you're buying this system with an RTX card, definitely go for 1000 or like 900 watts. If you have an RTX 3070, you might be good. You're probably good with 850, but don't go lower. The NVIDIA specs don't really account for the actual system, so be careful. And it's never bad to have too much power. The power supply is a key component to your system. Never cheap out on it. It will blow up the rest of your system. So then after that, I got to cool the CPU, I got the NZXT Kraken X63. This is an AIO cooler, a 280 millimeter cooler. I did want the Z63 because it has a displayable LCD, but it was way too expensive and I didn't want to spend that much money. So yeah, definitely a really good cooler, would recommend. I also went for AIO instead of air just because this time around I wanted to try something different. This is going to outperform a decent amount of air coolers, not all of them, but a decent amount. And it's an AIO, so it doesn't have that much, it's not that much work to maintain. And we're getting here to the end. Windows 10 supply box for the case, which we'll look at in a bit. Fan controller from Silverstone. And then I have 5 Noctua industrial PPC fans in their black and brown. These are beautiful fans, and they're also a lot better than the system fans that my case came with. So this was going to keep our system very nicely cooled. I'll talk about how I set these up afterwards. But yeah, got 5 of these. Should be noted, I am replacing the fans on the Kraken X63 for these fans, although the NZXT fans are really good, so you wouldn't have to. I just really want to. Finally, thermal paste to apply the CPU. A Blu-ray disc reader, because I'm pretty old school and I actually like to have one of these around. I know most people don't nowadays, it's not really necessary. Most people don't use discs. I like to, so, you know. One more thing, this is also really cheap. It was like 20 bucks. And in this last brown box is a card reader. So since my case doesn't actually have like SD card readers, I had to buy an external one. I don't know if you can see it through the plastic, but this has a bunch of stuff, including more USB ports and SATA ports and everything. So this right here is the Antho Pro series, Phanteks Antho Pro. Okay, so as you can see, I don't know if this is glass or like plastic. It feels like plastic, but it might be plexiglass. I don't know. This is a full tower case. It might not seem like it, but it is. Let's actually... That was a pretty loud peel. There you go. Good peeling experience. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Anyway, really big case. Still has another one on the inside, but I'll take care of that later. Let's actually get a screwdriver because this is really tight. And pop this bad boy open so you guys can see inside. Okay, so can I please pull this off? Thank you. So as you can see, it's a really big case. It has, these here are all hard drive cages, so it has a lot of storage space. Has a PSU shroud that I'm actually going to keep. ATX motherboard with standoffs already installed, which is cool. Free drive base, out of which I'm actually going to use two SSD mounts on that side. I'm pretty sure it has more on this side. And then, okay, are we good? The camera sort of broke, so I don't really know where it broke. Hopefully not too far in. I think it was just while I was explaining the case. But yeah, I'm going to update the BIOS on my motherboard. Thank you, Fridge, for the background noise. I appreciate you. And then I'm going to get started building. So I'm actually going to update the motherboard BIOS really quick, and then we're going to pop in the music and get this stream going, shall we? Okay guys, so the baby is now built. I know, I actually don't know how much I caught on video, but it is built. You can see it has like a cable running through. I need to get a longer CPU cable because I couldn't run it through the back, it didn't fit. So that's a bit annoying, but everything else looks good. You can see the connection hub up front, the disk drive. I even put in like the yours sticker and the, actually no, if you can see it, and the Ryzen sticker. You can also hear it, so it's really loud, and I need to go into the BIOS and change some settings for the fan speeds, but it's fine for the time being. It does the job.
You can see that I also have a measly setup right now. I have this old monitor, but currently right now I'm just transferring files from my laptop. It's going to be a while to do this, and I've also installed some of the programs. I was planning on having some like reviews of games. Sadly, I legit don't have time to install games today and test them out. I still have work to do, and this has taken me most of the day. But it is done. The computer is behaving. I've opened Minecraft and I was rounding like 500 to 600 FPS when I was loading 20 chunks with Optifine and everything maxed out, of course. But, you know, it's probably going to go a lot higher if I lower my settings a bit. I don't intend to, but I could. So the machine is doing its job. Nothing is thermal throttling. We can actually take a look at that right now. So, at idle, this is what it's doing at idle for the CPU. It's currently at 3.91 gigahertz, 3% utilization. Pretty simple. Memory, we're using 6.2 gigs. I don't know how we're using this many gigabytes, but whatever. Out of the 25 slots used for, I think this is because there's like committed. See, there's committed RAM right now, so that's that. Our GPU is currently at 1%, 0.2 out of 10 gigabytes. Ethernet is fine. We have disk 0 and disk 1 here, both doing pretty well. They're not doing much. And then we have a buttload of other disks, which I'm not even sure what they are, but whatever. We're just going to ignore it for now. But yeah, the PC is handling itself. I've installed Steam, etc. So my intent originally with this video series is to make just 3 videos. So while I was planning out the peripherals video, I have realized that I need 4 videos. I can't record it all in a single video. So what I think we're going to do is I'm going to have another episode between this and the peripherals where we're going to explore a few games with the computer with this more setup. We might have to even do it after the first peripherals video, but once I have a better setup, we're gonna try out some games. Or I'm really looking forward to trying out Minecraft RTX, because my laptop could do it, but it would probably blow up, and I could definitely not record on it. It would blow up if I tried. I also want to try some other games, Valorant, maybe some Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I still have to get that game, but maybe some new Call of Duty. I'm not exactly sure on the release date, but I know the beta is live, so we'll see. I have a bunch of stuff that I really need to look into, and I need to download and install, and that's going to take more time than I have today. So yeah, with that, and with this machine being loud as hell, I really do need to tune down the fans. It's pulling a lot of air in and out, but, you know, it's a little bit loud. With that, though, I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit the button, subscribe to the channel, and that's it for today, folks. I'm out. Peace.